All right, I'm going to call the meeting of the Essex Junction City Council to order for May 28th. First item on the agenda is any agenda additions or changes. Are there any from Regina? Counselors?
Yeah, I would like us to, from the consent agenda, remove item B for a short discussion. So that would make it item 5H. Okay.
I think it would make it. I think it made more. I think it might make sense to put it after the discussion of regional committee appointments, if that would be okay. Okay, so we'll just make it G. And then H will be the discussion and consideration of the ICMA economic mobility. So any other agenda additions or changes? All right, so I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, next is public to be heard. If anyone has anything they would like to talk to the council about tonight, please raise your hand if you're on Zoom. And I don't know, do you guys have anybody in the room with you? Any public?
No, not at this time.
Okay. I'll give it a second just to catch up on Zoom land here. I am not seeing any hands raised, so we will go on to business item 5A, which is interview and consideration of governance committee applicant. And I believe we have Bethany online with us. Hey, Bethany.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us.
Of course.
Thanks for applying. We do have a copy of your application, so usually just kind of open up the floor to, is there anything that you would like the council to know about your application that's not on here?
The only thing I can think of is that I may have to miss the next meeting, the June 12th one, for a family event. I'm generally available in the evenings. It's just that one day. That's the only thing I can think of.
Sure. Does any counselors have any questions for Bethany?
We saw you in the audience at the last governance committee meeting, and we appreciate your being present and listening to our discussions.
And I'll ask this question. Do you have a preferred form of municipal government? If so, which? If not, what characteristics do you think are going to be most important in determining a form of government for the city?
What's happening, guys?
I think that if I had, I don't know that any preferences I have for a form of municipal government means that I think they would work for Essex Junction. I think there are a lot of things to take into consideration. The first being how the community feels. In general, I guess I would prefer some form of a city council structure. But that isn't to say that I'm committed to that structure if, the community and the committee feel that a different one would better fit the needs.
I have nothing else, Amber. I don't see anything else in the room.
Okay. Bethany, do you have any questions for us?
I don't think so off the top of my head.
You can always feel free to reach out, post this and email us. Again, thanks for applying. We do have an executive session scheduled at the end of this meeting to discuss the application, and someone from the city will be in touch.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Feel free to stick around. It's lots of fun and excitement happening here. All right, so we are gonna shift to 5B, which is discussion and consideration of FY26 Chittenden Solid Waste District budget, and I believe we have Sarah Reeves on Zoom land with us here. Hey, Sarah.
Hey there.
And a technology question. We don't know
Yep.
who else is in the room on Zoom. We can't see the audience.
Oh,
I don't,
okay.
is there a way we could do a setting where we could at least see who's in the audience? Thank you.
Mike Sullivan's in the audience.
Hi, Mike. It's
Mike is
just,
present and accounted for.
I see that there was 11 participants, but all we could see was Amber. So thank you, Logan, for doing that.
Before you start, Sarah, is there any recusals from this conversation?
I am going to actually recuse myself in this conversation. My wife works for CSWD, so I'll be exiting the conversation. So
That seems unnecessary, considering that we're not voting and any benefit isn't going to apply to you more than it would apply to anybody else.
I would agree. I have had some feedback though, and it just leads me to go, if there is the appearance of a conflict, then that seems to be enough. But
I agree
would,
there's an appearance, but that's your decision.
yeah, no, I appreciate that, because I think in my reading of it too, I would interpret it that way, but I think this is the safe bet to go. So thank you.
Thanks, Marcus. Okay, the floor is yours, Sarah.
Great, thank you very much. And yeah, get ready for the excitement of the evening, and I can guarantee you. My name is Sarah Reeves. I'm the Executive Director for the Chittenden Solid Waste District, and we do have Mike Sullivan here, who is the Essex Junction, City of Essex Junction rep. So thank you, Mike, for tuning in. If I could ask Elise Serta to share her screen if she's got the permissions, that would be great. We have a short, perfect PowerPoint for you. And as Amber mentioned, we are here to present to you our fiscal 2026 budget proposal. Next, please, Elise. And a little bit about who we are. We'd like to kind of start off like this for folks who may not be familiar with CSWD. So we are a municipality chartered in 1987 at the request of our member communities to manage the waste that is generated within Chittenden County on your behalf. And we showed this slide mainly to highlight where we do receive our revenues and then where we do not. So we have three main sources of revenue: our user fees, which are the fees that our customers pay directly to us to manage their waste on their behalf. So, for example, at a drop-off center or at the organics recycling facility. Another portion of our revenue is from material and product sales, so the sale of compost or topsoil or recycling or local colored paint. And then solid waste management fee, and that is the fee that is charged directly to haulers for the trash that they bring to the landfill. And where we do not receive any revenue is we do not receive any revenue from the municipality itself. So we do not receive any revenue from property taxes or local sales, local income tax. We do not send you a bill. Next, please. And we are here because it is in our charter that we bring our budget to our legislative bodies of each municipality to vote to approve or disapprove our annual budget. And each select board and city council has one vote. The votes are not weighted, so your vote counts the same as Huntington, as the same as Burlington. Next, please. I also frequently get asked, how are we doing in Chittenden County? And I like to point folks to that column number 3. So of the 306,000, almost 307,000 tons of solid waste that's generated in the last year, 123,000 of those tons were landfilled. Of that, half of that landfill tons could have been diverted away from the landfill, either into recycling, into the organic stream, or as construction demolition debris, or as a special material like an electronic or scrap metal. We are focusing very heavily on that nearly 32,000 tons of Chittenden County trash that are organics, to move those organics out of the waste stream. It is by far the largest component of the material that is being landfilled that should not be landfilled. So we're focusing a lot of our education and outreach and messaging around that material. Next, please. So the fiscal 26 bottom line looks a lot like the fiscal 25 bottom line. Not much is changing this year to next. We're anticipating revenue at just over $16 million, 16.2. We subtract out the cost of goods sold, which are the things that things like paint buckets and peat moss, the items that go into the products that we sell, leaving us just over $16 million in anticipated revenue. We are budgeting at just under $16 million in expenses. So if all goes according to budgeted plan, we will essentially be at a wash for this next coming budget year. Next, please. And again, here's that pie chart of where our income comes from. And it is those three main components: the tipping fees from recycling, compost, drop-off centers, sale of materials, solid waste management fee. And I point this out because this is showing the representation of the solid waste management fee at the current price of $30 per ton. And we're going to talk more about that in a moment. Next, please. Our expenses continue to be two main buckets: payroll expenses and materials management. And materials management is our term for hauling fees. So these are the fees that we pay to haulers to either move material to the landfill, move material out to market, and that's also where we budget our contract with Casella to run the daily operations of our materials recycling facility. Next, please. And again, this year compared to next year, not much has changed. A small increase in the revenue, an even smaller decrease in the expenses, but otherwise it is flat year to year. Next, please. There are very few fee changes being budgeted this year. One fee change at the drop-off center for a small bag. The current small bag price is $3 for 13 gallons. That's increasing to $4 for 18 gallons. The mattress fees are going to increase because our contract with our mattress recycler expired, and when we renegotiated the prices, his fees to us went up. So those increases will be passed along. It'll be another $1 or $2 per mattress unit and mattress and box spring unit, but I don't have that fee schedule yet, but that will be posted pretty soon within the next couple of weeks. So no increase to the material recycling facility fee or to the organic recycling facility fee, no increases at the environmental depot. The fee this year that we're focusing on is the increase in the solid waste management fee, going from $30 a ton to $40 a ton for disposed trash. Next, please. So this fee, again, is the fee that is a per ton fee charged to haulers for Chittenden County generated trash disposed at the Coventry landfill. And this is not a new fee. This fee has been in place since 1993. And those who generate a lot of trash will pay a proportionally larger share of that fee. And this is the fee that is used to support district activities and occasionally some of our facilities as well, to ensure that we can carry out our mission on your behalf. The fee fully supports our administration, finance, compliance, IT, outreach and education, communications. It partially supports some of our facilities. In some years, it helps to partially support our drop-off centers, although this year we are not expecting that to occur. They are going to be self-sufficient this year. It will minimally support the organics recycling facility. The environmental depot and Rover is supported by this fee to the tune of about 80 to 85% of their budget is supported through solid waste management fees. This fee also supports our reserve funds, so our capital fund, closed landfill, operations, the community cleanup fund, and a new project fund for our MRF project. Next, please. And that is why we need this increase this year. The materials recycling facility capital project is anticipating funding gap of about $4 million. And this really started with COVID-related delays. We had anticipated or had desired to start the project to break ground in 2020. Everyone knows what happened. And since then, inflation stemming from COVID and then just ongoing has increased the prices for everything across the board. The loss of our intended site on Redmond Road in Williston, though, was the big driving factor. We were intending to build on property that we had owned on that site. When A&R came out to do their final walkthrough for our wetlands permit, there was a lot of shaking of the heads, and because of the heavy rains in 22 and 23, that site had started to revert to a true wetland status. So there was no way we could build on that site. So we needed to look for an alternative site, and Tim Casey from Heinsberg Sand and Gravel approached us and sold us his 38 acres on Redmond Road. So we're still in that neighborhood, in that zoning. But that was a $3 million unexpected, unanticipated, unbudgeted expense. And that is the bulk of this funding gap. So we looked at different alternatives to to generating more revenue, one thing we knew we did not want to do was to take on more long-term debt. When we asked Chittenden County voters to approve our bond for the project back in 2022, 82% of those who voted on that question voted to support that bond. So we know that Chittenden County voters, Chittenden County residents, are highly supportive of this program. But our long-term debt as a regional entity is backed by our member municipalities. So if for some reason CSWD went away, was no longer an entity, and we still had debt, our debt responsibility would then fall to our member municipalities on a per ratioed basis. So we did not want to increase the risk to our members with more long-term debt. So the other alternative funding options that we discussed and dismissed were things like a per capita fee, a municipal assessment, increasing the MRF fee, increasing drop-off center fees. A per capita fee or municipal assessment, we would have had to have notified you all back in November if we were intending to ask for a per capita fee or a municipal assessment. And you all would have needed to have known that ahead of town meeting day to be able to incorporate that into your property taxes and again, increase your property taxes. And we did not want to, again, place that burden on our local municipalities or on residents and businesses in Chittenden County. So we decided to go with a different mechanism. Next, please. And we landed on, again, the solid waste management fee because who pays that? Every generator of solid waste in Chittenden County pays this fee, and it is incorporated already into the overall fees charged by haulers to their customers as a component of their bill. So haulers are charged the fee at disposal, and they already factor our fee into their bill to you. So if on average, Chittenden County household generates just over a ton of trash needing disposal every year. So the average bill for a subscription customer, someone who subscribes to a hauler, is around $50 a month. So at $30 a ton, the current fee, CSWD's portion of that is just under $3 a month. So of that $50 a month, $3 comes to us. At $40 a ton, that fee will go up to just under $4 a month. So this new rate translates to, in general, an increase of less than $1 per month per average household in Chittenden County. Next, please. And I'd asked my Director of Finance and IT Director to take a look at our solid waste management fee going back 22 years to see, instead of our large jumps that we do, and you can see this orange line going through the middle of the page, that is our actual fee. And then in 2009, we bumped it up, and then we held it. And then in 2015, we bumped it up, and then we held it for a really long time, then we bumped it up. What would the fee have looked like had we increased by the cost of inflation, by the CPI? So the dashed green line is if the solid waste management fee had been adjusted according to the Northeast Urban Class CPI, and that is the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, that we utilize for determining our cost of living adjustment for our employees. And you can see that dashed green line. We met the cost of inflation in 2010, and then we fell below the cost of inflation. We exceeded it, and we were over the cost of inflation until COVID, and then we dropped below it again. And I also asked them to look at the garbage and trash index. And this index is the cost of inflation for our industry specifically. And you can see, according to this chart, only once for about a year did we actually meet the cost of doing business in our industry according to the garbage and trash CPI. Otherwise, we have always been below the cost of inflation. Had we simply increased our solid waste management fee a little bit each year, this year we would be at $39.21. So bringing us to $40 basically brings us up to where we should be had we kept pace with inflation. Next, please. So I've also recommended to our board, and they've agreed, they've passed an ordinance change to adjust how we adjust our solid waste management fee using small, regular annual adjustments to keep pace with inflation. Tie these adjustments to a consumer price index produced by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, either the garbage and trash index or the Northeast Urban Class BC. We would recommend this in our annual budget. That's vetted by our Finance Committee and vetted by our Board of Commissioners. Staff has to provide our budget to our Board of Commissioners by December 1st for the following July. So that is a proposed budget, and that's our best guess estimate. Then in January, we hold a public hearing. In February, our Finance Committee vets that budget again. Then it goes to our full board in March or April for their vetting, and then it comes to you all. So there are multiple points along the way for public input and for discussion of any adjustments. And the board has the final say on whether a staff recommendation for an adjustment will be included in the budget. Next, please. One more slide, I believe. There we go. So actually 2 more slides. So this would mean a change to our anticipated, we can go back, thanks, revenue. Instead of the 16.2, we'd be looking at 17.5. So you can see that that does adjust the solid waste management fee pie, slice of the pie chart. Every dollar over that 16.2 that was initially budgeted for as our revenue, every dollar of that will then go directly to the MRF Capital Project Fund. Next, please. Thanks. So in the next year, we are anticipating generating approximately 1.5 to 1.7 in these additional revenues for the MRF Project Capital Fund. We'll need to do that again in fiscal 27, and that should close the gap enough for us to be able to again, like not have to take out any loans and to be able to manage the costs within our own operating budget. And we do have a request to approve the budget, and that is all that I have for you as far as this presentation, but I would love to answer any questions you may have about what we've shown you tonight or what was included in your packet.
Thanks, Sarah. That was a very thorough presentation. I don't have any questions, but I will say I really appreciate the work that CSWD does. And every time I go to the DOC, everyone is friendly, they're helpful, and just super appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you. I will pass that on to them. Thank you very much.
Open it up to other counselors. Does anybody have any questions for Sarah?
I have a quick question.
Go ahead, Elaine.
Sarah, I'm really impressed that your payroll or your benefits increase is only 3.3%. What insurance company are you using? And can we have the name of their agent?
Yeah, so it's that's actually it's the difference in the total compensation for our employees, and we did have some retirements, and so that affects the overall benefits cost. So we also kept our hiring very, very low, and actually this year we're going to have just under, I think, a half an FTE fewer than last year. So kind of keeping our hiring at the levels that we needed to be, not going over where we were last year. And again, those retirements kind of offset some of the increase. We did experience the same increases in the cost, about I don't want to guess, but I don't remember if it was double digits. It might have been in that 11%. It's been between 9 and 11 or 12% a year for the past several years, as you all are aware. But it really was looking at our staffing needs and being realistic about not needing to hire more folks, but also being mindful of not burning folks out and just right sizing our staffing. And that's been an exercise we've been doing over the past couple of years, frankly, is to make sure that we have the folks that we need in the places we need them. And also looking as well to, are there services that we can look to a third party to perform without any loss of immediacy or quality. And so as folks are retiring, looking at each job description, looking at each position, and making sure that if we're going to refill that there is a need to do so. And I will put the plug out there that we do have several open positions. So folks are interested in working for CSWD, please do check out our website because we do have a couple of slots open.
Thank you. Brian, Tim?
I don't have anything to add. It's very thorough. I very much appreciate the increased services that we receive now at our Essex drop-off site, especially given the road construction that's occurring along Industrial Avenue. So again, very thorough. It's nice to see the look ahead as to try and bridge the gap a little bit and better understand that. So I appreciate the time for the presentation.
Thank you.
Mike, you want to add anything?
No, Sarah does the super job. We all know she does. Uh, yeah, I was saying, oh, I'll have a couple of points because I went over the budget pretty well, but no, every time I thought I was gonna say, oh, I have something to do. Nope, Sarah, get it. All right.
All right, Mike.
But yeah,
Well, we
has anybody
appreciate you
got any
being
questions?
here.
Yeah.
I know. And Sarah, you know, Amber is the alternate
Yeah.
too. So we're fully loaded tonight.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
100% attendance.
Yeah. Any questions for me?
Just
I
thank
don't-
you for serving as a volunteer on that board, Mike. Really appreciate it.
Exactly.
No, you're welcome. It's a good thing. It's an easy thing relatively, reading the minutes and very rarely does something it points to me to being concerning or whatever. So yeah, it's a good process. I like it all. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. I will open it up to the public to see if anybody has any questions for you, Sarah. Give it a second here.
Tim might have some too. Not Tim, I'm sorry. Marcus. I don't know if he, because it's a little different between Sarah and I think, and Marcus and I, because I work for you guys. Sarah works for CSWD. We do have slightly different portfolios. So I don't know if he wants to, if you want to wake him up, I'm sure he's sleeping there.
He is a member of the public. He can certainly ask any questions during this period if he would
Cool.
like.
Cool.
I'm happy to fill him in. I'm happy to fill him in.
Oh, thanks, Elise.
Questions in the room, Amber?
Thank you, and I'm not seeing any online, so I will bring it back to the council here. There is a motion that is requested of us to approve the budget. I don't know if anybody has that in front of them that would like to read that.
I'll move we approve the Chittenden Solid Waste District's FY 2026 budget as presented by district staff.
Thank you, Elaine. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Tim. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And yeah, I think that was everybody. There are no nays, and Marcus is sitting in the corner. So congratulations. Thank you, Sarah, for
Thank
coming.
you very much.
and
I appreciate your
always
time.
nice to see you. Thanks,
Thank you
Elise.
very much. Have a good night.
You too.
I'm heading back to the CSWD meeting too.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay. Bye, Mike.
Hi, guys. Thank you.
All right, we are moving on to 5C, which is department head brief with Fire Chief Chris Caborio. And is Chris in the room, I'm guessing? You're like an ant on my screen because you're so tiny, but I know you're there. I can see you. Good job.
An opportunity to remove myself from this conversation as a member of the fire department, both 5C and the next agenda item as well.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. All right, the floor is yours, Chris.
I sent a memo to the city council with just a quick update as to where we are. Again, kind of the highlights for the end of this year, the end of this fiscal year, getting our ladder truck back. We got that delivered on January 1st. And again, we funded not only the replacement of the frame, but also all the other deficiencies that were found and reported to us by Pierce Manufacturing. So being that we had the apparatus up in Wisconsin, we made the recommendation to make all those corrections so that when we got the vehicle back, everything was back up to spec. So that was, I don't know the exact numbers, about $36,000, I think, in additional costs. So we did kind of hold back on some spending. Within our budget, we do have some radio replacements that we're trying to do annually. So we did hold back on that. You know, wherever we could, we kind of held back on spending. So it looks like, you know, again, coming into the end of the fiscal year, we're in a good position. We're trying to make up for some of our lost time, if you would. Again, getting some of our radio replacements on order, and we'll get all those implemented in the next fiscal year. One of the other big projects we're looking to take on too is to get authorization to work with CVE to build a training site over on their property. It would give us a lot of flexibility in training to allow us to have more realistic scenarios for training to, you know, again, have firefighters experience real smoke conditions and working within a confined space that's unfamiliar with them. So just put more real life scenario into our training. So we're looking to move forward with that.
Chris, do you know what the, or do you guess as to what the reason is for the increase in calls to date? Why there's so much of a difference?
I didn't, yeah, we did not break down the numbers. I went and looked at the numbers to do a comparison. Just from, you know, again, experience, I would say that we're seeing a higher call volume with assistance to Essex Rescue, doing EMS calls here in the city. And we're also seeing a higher response to Williston to assist them either on fire calls or on station coverage. I would attribute those two things probably to be the two biggest contributors to the higher call volume. Again, going back to Essex Rescue, you know, they run a 2-person operation. So whenever they arrive at a location and you have an individual that cannot make it from wherever they're located in the home to the stretcher under their own power, then obviously they're going to need additional help to transport or carry, do a lift assist is what we're dispatched to. So to dispatch us to assist with getting that individual to the stretcher so they can get them into the ambulance and transport it to the hospital.
Does any counselors have any questions for Chris?
Chief, 30 to 32 people on your roster. Is that a full roster? Are you dealing with ongoing vacancies? Where would you prefer to be?
It's to be in a 30-person roster really works for us, but I would say it's a constant work in process. So we're always visiting that roster. Again, we hold individuals to maintaining training requirements. That's number one. We have to maintain for anybody that's filling a role of firefighter, they have to do 10 hours of training every quarter. So we do measure individuals to that. Call attendance is minimal. We have them responding to a minimum of 10% of fire calls during a 6-month period. So we measure that January to end of June, July 1st to end of December. Call volume, responding to calls hasn't been an issue, but training attendance has. So again, it's following up with individuals. We're working with a couple now that are basically training deficient. So again, it just takes the time of bringing them in, sitting them down and discussing, you know, where they are and whether or not they can continue to support the operation. So it's a constant work in process. We didn't have anybody in the county basic class this spring from Essex Junction Fire. I think we graduated 2 last fall. And again, we've been very lucky. Those 2 individuals have been very responsive and are participating in a lot of fire call attendance.
So is 30 to 32 members of the roster enough? Are you okay? So
Yeah.
you're at a full capacity. You're happy.
Yeah, I mean, if we can maintain that level, that's good.
Okay, thank you.
Brian, do you have
Anyone
anything?
else?
Chris, I was looking at that MOU, and you had a cost estimate of 7 to 9K, I think, to complete it. That seems like that's all my read was that was to build basically things you're going to burn down on there, right?
Before I
Brian,
get
I'm
there-
just gonna,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. We're not there yet.
I can come back in.
No, totally
Spoiler
understand.
alert.
They overlap. Is there anything else you have, Brian?
Nope.
All right, if I might, thanks, Chief, for coming out. You know, talking about the database, because you reference increased efforts to populate the data. I'm curious about what is it a lack of data that's in the database that you're concerned about, or is it about updating the database that you have?
It's just strictly updating the database that we have. So the more information that we can get into our ESO database, again, it just creates for efficiencies down the road. And it's simple things, but it's, again, going through the, you know, we have, I would say 90 to 95% of the properties identified within our ESO database, so that when we do, for every call that we go to, you know, we have to fill out. Again, it's a lot easier to be able to go into that database and select that property, and all that information is there, and it pulls into the report. So again, making sure that that information is in there, making sure the information is updated, you know, going through and just identifying, because not only do you have a physical location for an address, but along with that is what type of property is it? Is it residential? Is it a 1 or 2 family home? Is it a multifamily home? Is it, and so to populate all that data just assists us after a call when we're loading, all that information gets pulled in. It just makes all our report writing that much quicker and easier.
And to talk about the training for just a second, because as I think back to when we approved providing, you know, the hourly for training, it was the right thing to do because of the fact that, you know, we put a lot of requirements, demands on these volunteers to do this particular work, and it's a skilled work. It's not an unskilled work by any means. But I thought one of the other things that I recall from that discussion was also, it was a good incentive to also help bolster the numbers at those particular trainings. Is this doing that? I mean, I know that you identified you potentially have a couple that are running insufficient, but do you believe that monetary sum that we added to the budget for your department has made a difference? And whether or not, is there something else that we might consider or need to consider in order to help improve that?
I would say that it hasn't really, I don't think we've seen a big increase in training attendance because we have now, you know, made that a paid opportunity. But I think our training has maintained, you know, over the last year. Always a challenge to get individuals to come to training. So again, you know, one of the things we're kind of focused on, again, is working on this training site. So it gives us more opportunities to offer, I think, a wider variety of training and more realistic training for firefighters. So, you know, again, gets us out of the classroom and gets, you know, hands-on type training, which I think everybody prefers, as opposed to, you know, in the station instruction.
All right, thank you for that. Amber, nothing else on this side.
Okay. Then we can slide into 5D, which is discussion and consideration of Essex Junction Fire Department Training Facility at CVE, which Brian has questions on. But before he has questions, Chief, do you want to add anything more? I know you kind of touched upon it in your previous discussion, but did you want to add anything else related to this topic before I open it up to questions?
Not really. I mean, in summary, basically, we're looking for a location that's kind of away from residences so that we're not interfering with, again, our smoke or our activity is not going to impact neighborhoods or neighbors. It's very basic. What we're looking to do is basically take Connex boxes, which are your metal boxes, shipping containers, basically. And what they end up doing is stacking those. We'd stack one on top of another and basically simulate a 2-story structure with that. So with that, we have an opportunity to, again, just create training scenarios. You do burns, but basically they would become what we would call room and content type fires. So nothing huge, but definitely something, a typical firefighter is going to respond to in their working career.
Brian, you want to ask your question?
Yeah, it seemed like the number that you quoted in here was for the Connex boxes and stuff, but we're not paying the CVE anything for this space. Is that
correct? So it would just be bringing in Connex boxes that we would bring into that space and put together to create a simulated structure, if you would.
Yeah, that sounded good to me, but I want to make sure I understood.
Yep.
I can't tell from the photograph in the memo. Do you know what the elevation is of that space where your training will be? Like, is it lower than the surrounding areas or higher or even?
I don't know, Elaine. I would have to actually go down there and take a closer look myself. I believe it is higher.
Okay. So conceivably, well, obviously you would see smoke if you burned something, but conceivably it could be seen from around the area what you're doing.
Yes, and typically what we would do is if we were going to go down for live fire training, again, we would contact Essex Dispatch. We would let them know we're going down, what we're going to do. We'll be working from 7 to 9. If somebody does see smoke in the area, they would be aware of what we're doing.
Yeah. I wonder if this is also something that we would want to just have, the way we have the waivers notified for the public, that the public knows, just like when the guard does a flyover at night, you say, well, the fire department's going to be doing a training, you're going to see some burning, or you might see smoke or something. Might be a useful notification.
Can I, to that point, Chief, do you have a sense of how well in advance you'd be able to notify that on such and such nights this would be happening?
So our training is typically planned out quarterly. So I would say that we would have plenty of advance notice. I would say at the very minimum, we could tell the training committee we need a week's notice so that we can let the public know.
Chief, if I can ask, for this particular facility, can you describe the need beyond the other training opportunities that are out there? Because as I look and research training for firefighters in this region, obviously we have the Vermont Fire Academy. There's the North Country International Fire Training Service, which seems to give pretty extensive training and certifications as well. Do those trainings not give us the training and opportunities that we need? How is this going to be different, or is this more cost effective? I'm trying to understand, I guess, how this will fit into the scheme of overall training in general that's available.
Again, it's just the convenience of having something local. You're literally 1 mile from the station. So on our typical training nights, Monday night, to get individuals, we train from 7 to 9. In the summer months, we may go a little bit later, but it's just being able to get individuals down there. You're a mile away. I'm sure some preparatory work would be done to the training site so that when you get down there, we've got people ready to go. Yes, there's a training facility, Vermont Fire. That's 2 hours away from here.
Yeah.
So, it just, I mean, you're talking about to go down there, number one, you have to reserve it. You'd have to have them available. You got to get people to go down. You're basically talking about a Saturday or a Sunday. And people just, again, you're not going to get that kind of a commitment on the weekend to spend a Saturday to go all the way down to the Pittsford to utilize that training facility.
Yeah. I mean, the other fire training service appears to be near the border, so it's a bit closer, but both seemed very affordable. That's what I think I took note of first. But the other thing I want to ask in regard to this, would this facility potentially be available or accessible, or would we share it with other municipalities so that they could utilize the convenience as well as the opportunity to use this?
I mean, we would certainly make it available. Again, provided it meets the accommodations that have been identified by CBE. So we got to make sure that we're not interfering with their schedule as well. But we would certainly open it up to other departments. A number of departments locally have a similar type of setup. We took a look at Fairfax. I think they have a training site similar where they have 3 or 4 Connex boxes set up to simulate that. So Williston has a number of resources, and we've gone over there as well. But again, it's a lot of work to go over there. I mean, they do offer it to us. We do some ventilation training, but it's making sure, that night we've got the plywood available. We go over there and, you set all that up. It's just extra time. So you're trying to be as efficient as we can. And again, just being able to drive a mile and you're there and it's a facility we have and we're running, makes it a lot more efficient.
How often will you be doing the burns, and will they be going all year long or just during non-winter?
I'm sure, again, if we could get up there in the wintertime, we would probably try and use that too. I don't know how accessible this site is going to be in the wintertime. So for the most part, it's probably going to be utilized from April till the end of November. And are we going to be burning every Monday night? Probably not. Again, there'll be like a roof prop. So if you want to do ventilation training where individuals are actually throwing ladders, cutting holes with chainsaws as they would in a home, that's what you want to set up and have them train for. Just search and rescue in a dark building to simulate going into a smoke-filled residence. So don't have to have fire for that. All you have to do is send somebody in and close up that box, and you've got that pitch dark condition that you're going to have when you have a full charged home with smoke. You can't see. So so it's having, again, being able to set up those conditions so that you can get individuals as close as you can to real fire scenarios.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Not on this side.
I will open it up to the public if there's any questions about the proposed MOU. I am not seeing any hands, so bring it back to us. I believe there is a motion in the packet.
I will move that the council authorize the city manager to approve the MOU pending legal review.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
All right. No nays. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you for your time.
Always good to see you.
Thanks.
Enjoy the rest of your night.
Well, feel free to stay for the mural conversation.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna paint your building.
Yeah. All right, 5E, discussion of mural application for the fire department. I don't know who's yours. Yep.
So just letting you know, if you do have any questions that I can't answer tonight, we can circle back around for the next meeting. But essentially, community development, put in a pitch for a public mural in the city. And we have now been invited to, put in a submission for the next stage of this. And really, the next stage is design, and public engagement and thinking through what the mural would be with lots of public engagement. The idea is we work with the schools and the art classes in the schools. And the concept is the side of the fire station that you see from Lincoln Street. So when you're looking at the fire station between the library and to Lincoln, that wall there that you're looking at. So there is no match required for this, but just wanted to put it on your business item so you could, we can bring some visibility to this concept, and also to give you folks an opportunity if there's anything you want to discuss about this or anything worrisome, then we can certainly have that conversation and bring those comments back forward. But that's the idea. I think it's pretty exciting because certainly one of the many things I've been hearing about since I've been here is trying to do some public art, and this is an opportunity to do that.
It's great. We've tried it before and it didn't work out, so it's great.
Any questions?
No, I would echo what Elaine said. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep. Agreed. I think it also checks a box in TOD plan, wasn't it? Proposed TOD plan that mentioned having a mural.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, I'm getting the strategic plan and the TOD confused. Too much paper, but I'm pretty sure it's TOD. So nice to check a box. Thank you. Yep. And you don't need any motion or anything on this, or?
I don't.
Okay. All right. Quick and painless. We'll move on to 5F then. Discussion and consideration of regional committee appointments.
This is a process that we do every May around this time, and we are looking at all of the council reps on various regional boards, much like Mike Sullivan in the earlier discussion with Chittenden Solid Waste District. So on the right-hand side, you see the particular appointments that actually need action this year. These don't all need action every single year. It's just sort of helpful to keep this information all in one place. Brian had some great questions about this. Thank you, Brian. So there are two mistakes in this memo. Champlain Water District. So Greg Duggan was the alternate for our joint position when we had one between the city and the town. We now, as folks remember, voted for our own representative in April. And so now that alternate position, from Champlain Water District's perspective, what they typically do if they don't get an alternate, it defaults to the manager, which is likely why Greg is in that position prior. And so I'm fine with that if that's what you folks want to do. There are about, I'm looking at Jeff because he's the town Champlain Water District rep now. Of the 8 or 9 communities, about half of those alternates are the managers. The other 2 or 3 are public works directors, and then one of the communities has a community member. And if they are a non-staff alternate, they do have to be a resident of the community. So hopefully that's
Is,
clear.
is Rick with us tonight? Because if not, I think we should make him the alternate.
You're evil.
Then you see Greg on there again. I think that was copy and paste error for the Winooski Valley Parks District. The Winooski Valley Parks District does not have any alternates. They just have their main reps. And George Tyler is open to that reappointment again. So that's what we've got here. Also from George, he's happy to do it again. He also is fine stepping down if somebody else would like to take that position. So I think that's it. The action in front of you is for the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission, the Town Meeting TV, and Winooski Valley Parks District.
So I have a question. I do have a question on this, just
Go
from the
ahead.
standpoint of, in observation, alternates aren't often called upon. Is there an advantage or disadvantage to having a staff member in that particular position?
So if we're talking about Champlain Water District, I think it's different for some of these. So the Champlain Water District, their board meetings are, I believe it's the third Tuesday at noon. So some of these are a little bit easier for a staff person to be able to like plan for that, put it on their schedule and be available if need be. Other groups are more evening meetings, and so it does sort of lend itself a little bit more to a community member if we can find a community member that's able to do it. So, yeah.
When I served on CCRPC, Dan, Karen, and I definitely called upon each other as member and alternate to help each other out when we couldn't make meetings. So that definitely happened.
Okay.
Yep. Mike does that as well for me with CSWD, though. Unfortunately, their meetings are the same time as ours, so it usually means I can't attend, but good to have a backup. Anybody want to read that list? Radio host Marcus Serta.
All right, let's see here. I move that the council appoint the following positions. CCRPC Board, appoint Kristen Gildia as representative and Dan Karen as alternate to the board of CCRPC. For the CCRPC TAC, appoint Chris Ewan as representative, Michael Gugere, sorry, my apologies, as alternate to the Transportation Advisory Committee for the CCRPC. For the CCRPC CWAC, appoint Chelsea Mendigo. My apologies, Chelsea, as representative to the Clean Water Advisory Committee for CCRPC. Town Meeting TV, appoint Amber Tebow as representative, Marcus Serta, oh, that would be me, as an alternate. Winooski Valley Parks District, appoint George Tyler as a representative to the WVPD, and all other appointments will remain as is for now.
Thank you, Mr. Serta. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays?
You there, Marcus. I got the easy part on that one.
Give me the
Sorry,
normal
Marcus.
copy, I will read it, no problem. Give me some names, that's when I'm gonna stop. There you go.
All right, we are good there. So we are moving on to what is now FG, which is the annual memo with manager appointments and approval of council appointments of the city clerk and tree warden, which was pulled out from the consent agenda.
Discussion or ask a question in terms of reappointing the city attorney, the city auditor, and the city engineer. Do we have any procedure or policy in place to assess whether we are happy with their performance. And we, you know, the manager reappoints and we approve, but do we measure? So I was just curious if there was plans for that in subsequent meetings, or how we would go about making a decision to change any of those positions.
Excellent question. The current, so a couple of things. The current purchasing policy refers to these appointments in there as well. So one thing that is going to happen is we are going to update our purchasing policy that will come forward to you folks at some point. We tried working with the one that we have and editing it, and it kind of gave us more questions. So VLCT is about to issue a model purchasing policy, so we're kind of on hold for that to see what that is. So that's not to say that there's anything, I am anticipating any particular direction in what we may define in there for that purpose, but just so you know, that is one thing that is going to be coming down the line. Other question about how we are assessing this and thinking about this, I think is a really great question. I'll start with the audit firm. Since I have been here, we've been focused on just trying to get separated and set ourselves up. And I think consistency with the audit firm has been helpful. The town has an RFP out right now for their audit firm, so they're at a place where they're looking for a new audit firm. And I think there probably is some value in consistently putting an RFP out for that and trying to think that through on whatever time frame we may feel is appropriate, 3 years, 5 years. I will say on that front, like many things, it's pretty hard to get an auditor these days. There are a couple of communities that have RFPs out and not getting a whole lot of responses to them. I don't know the town's situation. I just know that they're looking. So that's the.
Well, and for us with the auditor, like we've, for many years, we use the same firm, but they shift partners within the firm who works on our particular audit.
Yeah.
My question is more, are we happy with them?
Right.
And
Yeah.
are we happy with the services the attorney is giving? And are we happy with the services the engineer is giving? And like with the audit, if we get a clean report, that's great, right? But also there's how they work with the staff and how easy it is to get the work done. And the same thing with the attorney. Are they giving us the right advice? Or are we happy with that?
Yeah.
And are projects going well with the engineer that we use?
Yeah.
That's more what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
So if I can just add in, because I did email a question to Regina earlier on this piece as well. One of the things that came to mind, and since you brought this up, and so I just want to add this in, is the consideration with like legal services. We have a significant amount of money in our budget for legal services, which made me ask the question upon seeing this, is it better to have a city attorney who's on staff versus a city attorney who's part of a firm? And with the other question that I asked in that, and this is a separate context, is we've named a particular attorney on here, but she is part of a firm. So is she the city attorney or is the firm the city attorney? So I just wanted clarity on that.
Sure.
But I threw that in as questions as well. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, good, good questions. So, sorry, there's a lot in there. I'm trying to decide which to say, talk about first. So the cost of, a comparison between the cost of these outside contractors versus what bringing in-house staff are. And I guess I could also sort of throw in, it's not an appointment, but we can throw open approach, IT manager, it's that same conversation, right? I think there's probably some value in thinking through that on an annual basis as we get through, when we're looking at the budget and starting to see what makes sense here. The other one I will throw in on that is janitorial cleaning services as well. There's kind of a couple of different things that we start to end up seeing how much we're sort of spending on something and what kind of makes sense. Another component that we do think about when we're thinking about this is a firm versus a 1 or 2 person full-time staff in-house. That is, they're just such different animals, and there's pros and cons to both of those situations. For example, in Hamlin's engineering firm, there are 4 different people that are working on projects at various different times. And sometimes we need all 4 of those people working, which if we had just had 1 staff member, that wouldn't be great. And there are other times when we don't need their services, and then we're not paying for the services. So it's a little bit back and forth. Similar for Claudine and the attorney. She is our attorney, but if there is an expertise that she is missing, she will pull from other people in the office. Or if there's just a level of busyness, she'll pull from other people in the office too. So we work with a number of them pretty well.
But with that, if we ask a question and we get a letter back or a note back that says, here's how we see this legally, whether it's from Claudine or somebody else in the firm, it basically is we should consider it as the voice of Claudine. Therefore, it's coming from our city attorney, regardless of who it is in the firm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put anybody else's words inside Claudine's. Like the memo is from the memo. Whoever is the author of the memo.
Okay. I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
So I think these are all really great questions and things to sort of think through as we're moving forward and trying to figure out what makes the most sense for the city and the needs that we have as we're adjusting them. And I think in terms of quality of service and if we're happy with with what we're getting, I think we should be assessing that. We should be thinking about that. And if we get to a point where we want to put an RFP out to see what other services we can possibly get, I think that's not an impossible thing to do. I will say these relationships are pretty.
They're important.
Yeah.
And long, especially sometimes really detailed and even traumatic. But my main concern or question is, I don't recall ever having conversations as part of the council or as part of the village trustees on, are we happy with the way this is going?
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever remember that.
Yeah.
And it feels like as we move forward, things get more expensive and more complex. We should probably do that.
Yeah. Yep.
Any other questions? Since we pulled that memo out, there is a motion on that memo.
It looks close to page 77 from my
Okay.
perspective.
Have
Page
it.
78.
I move the city council reappoint Susan McNamara Hill as city clerk for the FY26 and reappoint Warren Spinner as tree warden.
Need a
I'll
second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No nays? All right. We are good there. All right. Thanks.
For this. I know this is a Regina appointment, but it's a position that we've held for a very long time.
Yes.
And we're honored to hold it.
Yeah.
It's a community that most of us in this firm, have very deep deep alliances to.
Yeah.
I grew up here. I don't live in the Junction now, I live in the town. But I lived here, I grew up here, I went to these schools, I walked these streets. My daughter actually lives in the Junction now, my mother still lives in the Junction. Most of my extended family lives in the Junction. It's a community that, while I don't live in it, I love it. And we love providing service for it, because it makes us feel good that we're actually helping you guys achieve the goals that you want and take care of the infrastructure.
Yeah.
So it's something that we certainly recognize that we're up for reappointment every year.
Right.
And we always have, and we strive to do such a good job that you keep doing it. And like I said, I think we've been doing it since 1996.
It's noticeable. Yeah. No, thank you so much.
So we enjoy
Thanks,
the
Jeff.
school and everything. So
Jeff,
I say thank you to all of you.
Jeff, just a quick note, can you tell them about the age of the water line?
Yes.
This is a great story,
This
and I
is
want you to hear it.
actually really cool.
Come to the mic.
So as you guys know, as part of Lincoln Hall's renovation, they needed to put a sprinkler system in the building, and so we needed to provide a larger water line to serve those sprinklers. And so we designed and built a water line from Lincoln Street that goes into the building, and so we had to tap into the existing water line on Lincoln Street. And so when the guy was down there doing that, he looked up at us and he said, "Hey, can I have your phone?" And I was like, I had no clue what he was doing, and he took it was actually my son that was there with me, and he took his phone and he went down and he was wrapped around this thing, and he looked like he took a picture and he handed it to us. And I was like, "What is this thing?" And it said 1901 on it.
Wow.
That is when that water line was put in the ground.
Whoa.
That's
So
crazy.
It was really, really cool.
For me, it was really, really scary.
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I hope it can handle us cutting into it.
Yeah. It may have been 1900, not 1901. But the thing is 125 years old.
That's
It's
crazy,
fantastic.
really.
Amazing.
So, and it's still in service. And when we cut into it, it looks excellent.
And it's not
Awesome.
being lit?
The condition of it was unbelievable for its age. So I thought that was really cool. And it was the guy who actually tapped it. He's done one other one that was older. I think he did in 1886. But we're in his top 3 or 5 here for the age.
What was
of
it
these
made
things.
out of?
Cast iron.
Wow.
Cast iron.
Okay.
Wow.
Really cool. Really cool. So we have that picture. I think actually Rick Jones has that picture.
Oh, does he?
He has the piece that came out of that pipe. He has the collection of them, and I think that one's probably on the top. So anyway,
We'll put that in the slideshow presentation for the open house.
it's kind of like I said, I'm kind of an engineering geek, but that was really cool to once we deciphered what he was trying to show to us, the thought that thing was that old was real cool to us. So,
Wow.
That's super
awesome.
cool.
Thanks for sharing that. That was
of
great.
course.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Give our best to Rick.
You got it. You got it. Anytime you guys have questions as to what we do and all, I'm happy to come here and talk to you guys. I know there's some new faces here. If you don't know what we do, I'll come here and we can demonstrate what we do and show you guys. Because there's a lot of things we do. It isn't just one thing. I don't even know how many. There's so happy to do that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Take care.
Yeah, I think Rick personally knows every pipe under the street in all of us.
Pretty sure. All right, so last item is 5H, which is discussion and consideration at ICMA Economic Mobility and Opportunity Special Assistance Program. I think that could be a little longer, Regina.
Maybe a little crazy. I don't know. But an opportunity. So, as you folks know, we put $25,000 in the FY26 budget for the equity policy advisor concept that would be with CCRPC and shared with other municipalities. Only us and Winooski were able to set aside $25,000 for that. And South Burlington thinks that they could probably still figure out a way to fund it. But otherwise, that's probably about it as a starting place, which is fine. We could move that way, and what we would probably do is rely on existing CCRPC staff to kind of hold a space for us to kind of do some of that work and move it forward. So regardless of that, this opportunity, I think that it's probably our path and what we will do. This opportunity came across our desks, and we thought kind of sort of makes sense to think about this, considering we don't quite have enough resources to do the full kind of dedicated staff person that we were thinking. This work is definitely a little bit more kind of outward community facing. The other concept that we were thinking was a little bit more internal, like what kind of policies and work could we think about, and really have somebody kind of really just holding everybody's hands and saying, Winooski was just working on this very same thing. Let me just get what they got, bring it over to you, and kind of help move things along in that way. The concept of this program is a little bit different, and it's much more sort of public facing, working with folks in the community, really kind of trying to address these issues that you see generationally of folks who can't necessarily move up the economic ladder. And that can look like housing, that can look like entrepreneurship, it can look at like a lot of different kinds of things that could be done. So far, the interest level in this particular program, I would say, is Winooski, South Burlington, and Shelburne, because they've got some specific funding set aside for economic development. This kind of program sort of ties in with exactly what they're trying to do. So the thought was, if we can pull this application off, get it over the finish line, and just see if we're even remotely considered, it may be a good opportunity to see how we can kind of combine these two programs and see what we could achieve here. I think I put some other sort of thoughts and thinking in the memo, but I can leave it at that if there's any questions.
Go ahead, Marcus.
I just want to say this is really kind of exciting, because based on the conversations we've had in and out of meetings, because as we're walking around the community and talking about all the things we want to do in the near term, we're looking at a retreat coming up to talk about how do we, taking another look at our vision, taking another look at how we can execute on that and hit some real key points, especially on things like economic development, which keeps coming up in conversation, housing, which keeps coming up in conversation, and the possibility that we could have the salary covered for an FTE to focus on this stuff. Because I know as we talk about some of this, and again, we'll get into more detail in the retreat, but just thinking about, like, if we're having committee support of these efforts, this is putting more staff time requirements onto that effort as well. And if we could bring in an FTE that is covered, that would be a great benefit to help jumpstart what we want to do and what the staff wants to accomplish, and do that without burdening them even more. So I think this is an application we should absolutely put in and try for.
Great.
I would agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
Plus,
Anybody else have any questions for Regina on this?
not at all. Excited.
Comments? Yeah,
Great opportunity.
it is
Taking
exciting.
the chance.
Yeah, well, I'm glad they extended the deadline by a week, because otherwise we really were no way was going to pull it off. So, and I will say thanks to Elaine Wang, who actually has put a decent amount of effort into the actual application itself. So, we'll see.
So if I may, I will move that the council authorize the city manager to apply for the ICMA Economic Mobility and Opportunity Special Assistance Program with interested municipal partners.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No nays. All right. Good luck. All right, we do have an executive session, so we'll come back to that, but I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No nays, okay. All right, council member comments and city manager report. Regina.
I would like to extend a thank you to the Houghtons because as we've had to close the 2 Lincoln driveway a number of times for the water line that Jeff Kirschner was just referring to, they've been kind enough to let folks come in and out of the Maplehurst driveway, which many folks probably think is public. It's not a public driveway. So really appreciate that. We anticipate that driveway, the 2 Lincoln driveway, will be closed for during the day for the rest of this week. Hopefully that will be it. Also exciting that the elevator arrived at the 2 Lincoln project, which is very interesting to see. I've been dying to see what this truck looks like and how the parts look. So it's very fascinating. It's a very, very big truck, and it has an accordion top that pushes back as they take the parts off. So exciting. So it should be about 2 weeks that they stay on site and they build the thing inside the structure. So it's very interesting. And big thank you to everybody who came out for Memorial Day parade and was not afraid of the cold and the rain held off. So that was really, really great. And lots of effort all around staff, counselors, and really lots of community folks. So it was great.
Good time. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to throw in, and I'll start by saying, again, I'm really grateful and I've been honored to MC the Memorial Day Parade. It was such a fun event. I'm so grateful that people came out, but I do want to give special thanks and appreciation to my co-MC because it is a lot more fun when you have somebody fun to work with, and it's great to do that event with you. So thank you.
Thank you.
I do also want to acknowledge that the Essex Community Historical Society is opening their doors on June 1st at the Harriet Farnsworth Powell Historical Museum. So this is the great group that does everything in their power to retain all the history of the town of Essex and the city of Essex Junction, formerly the village of Essex Junction. But they keep that all together. They've put together some very special stuff for this year, including some focus around those people who served in times of war from our two communities. So hope people will go out and check it out because, while we love living in this community now, there are a lot of people that came before us to help make this community what it is today. So that's a great way to show appreciation for it. So thanks to the Essex Community Historical Society for doing that work.
Can I ask a clarifying question about the retreat? So in the email that you sent in preparation, it said review the preparatory work document that's coming from Sue McCormick. And so I'm not sure what we're supposed to do with that document because there's and to email her afterwards. And are we reviewing, are the questions that she's posing in this document questions that we're going to talk about during the retreat about all the different priorities? Or are we supposed to be saying, I have some more questions to add to this list?
So the thing to review beforehand and email to Sue are really trying to get a consistent feedback and understanding on what are the criteria for reviewing future projects.
Oh, that's different. Okay.
Yeah, so should we be thinking about, and that list has a number of items. One of them being, is this something that you would be comfortable asking the community to invest in the future? Is it doable within a reasonable time frame? Is it those kinds of things? And the thought process was to just get everybody's feedback on that criteria list so that Sue can kind of compose that. So when we're in there that day, we've got the criteria and that's what we'll be thinking about for review.
And then going forward, we would use that criteria for all subsequent priorities?
We could, if we liked it.
Okay.
I wouldn't put that much pressure on it, but we certainly could. Yeah.
Thanks. I was just not quite
Yeah.
understanding what was being asked of us.
Yes. I do have one other thing that I forgot.
Sure, go ahead.
We've got the Pride Festival this Saturday at Maple Street Park, which is a very, very exciting event. And there's also a super exciting run on Friday night, the Glow Run, that's at 9 p.m. in the dark, which will be cool. So just want to make sure community is aware of that.
I'm very bummed
Thank
I
you.
can't make the Pride event. It's a work commitment. So it's going to be awesome. Pride last year was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. It was. Anybody else? Going once?
No, not from this
Going
side.
twice? Okay, all right, so who has the motion for executive session? Okay.
3A3 to include the city manager.
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No nays, okay. Thank you. We are going into executive session and I do expect that it should be fairly quick and we will return. Thanks for joining us, everybody. You guys good?
I believe so.
Absolutely.
Okay,
I think we've got
all
it.
right, so I will make a motion to appoint Bethany Clark to the governance committee.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. No nays, good. Congratulations, Bethany. Thanks again for stepping up. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thanks, guys. Have a good night.